In supply chain management, we have channel partners, and those channel partners perform some different functions. One of the major functions, of course, that channel partners provide is to transport and store goods, but also they may perform facilitating functions to make the purchase process easier, provide setup, repair, and maintenance service for the products that are carried, and oftentimes provide communication and transaction functions. Probably the two most important functions are transport and store goods and provide communication and transaction functions. The internet has been a complete game changer as it relates to distribution because of the ability to provide communication and transaction functions so easily. In fact, they have really changed a lot of intermediaries. They've eliminated a lot of intermediaries. The term for that is disintermediation. Disintermediation is the elimination of traditional intermediaries. What would be examples of that? Well, the travel industry has changed dramatically. The travel agent is, very much of an endangered species. The travel agent was always a conduit, a middleman between the supplier of travel services, airlines, hotels, cruises, and the buyers of those transportation services. Well, now lots of people are doing that online. Sometimes they're doing it with so-called online aggregators like Travelocity or Orbitz, or they're dealing directly with the travel provider, whether that's United.com or Marriott.com or a cruise ship provider. So the travel industry, that has changed greatly. What about the traditional function of transporting and storing goods? Well, warehouses are declining somewhat because of people going directly to producers. So no need to put that good in a warehouse between the producer and the end customer if the end customer is going to contact directly and deal, with the provider. But a lot of times that is not practical, and people are still buying things through traditional retail stores, and those goods are getting to the traditional retail stores in the traditional manner, largely through wholesalers. Another way that the internet has radically changed distribution strategies is with the handling of knowledge management, sharing knowledge with other supply chain members. Of course, the internet is a very, very efficient way to distribute information and knowledge, and so it's been a real game changer. But let's go ahead and look at the traditional type of wholesaling. Wholesale intermediaries, and let's go ahead and define them. Those are firms that handle the flow of products from the manufacturer to the retailer or the business user. Merchant wholesalers carry and stock goods. So they're probably the most common type of independent intermediary. Merchandise agents and brokers don't actually carry the goods. They perform a selling function, if you will. They bring buyer and seller together, so they are transactional in nature. Now, some manufacturers own their own intermediaries, manufacture showrooms, manufacture sales offices, things like that. Now, the traditional channels of distribution typically include at least one and oftentimes more than one middleman. Probably the most common is producer sells to a wholesaler, wholesaler sells to a retailer, and then the retailer sells to the end consumer. Although sometimes for small retailers like a convenience store like 7-Eleven, oftentimes they will buy from a small wholesaler. That small wholesaler will buy from a much larger wholesaler who bought the product from the producer. So sometimes there's several levels of wholesale distribution going on there. That's why sometimes products cost a lot more in a place like a convenience store because they have indeed gone through several layers of distribution there. Of course, on the other end of the spectrum, large retailers like Walmart are not going through wholesaler intermediaries. They are performing that function themselves, so they will buy directly from the producers. Now, just because the intermediary has gone away doesn't mean that the function that the intermediary provided has gone away. It's just Walmart provides its own wholesaling function, if you will, with their Walmart distribution centers. Of course, some customers are just going directly to the producer, going direct. When we looked at the flow of goods, we actually turned this on its side and had producers at the top down to consumers at the bottom. Kind of the traditional way you look at it when you're talking about things like vertical integration, up and down, backward closer to the source of supply, forward closer to the end customer. Now, these are consumer channels of distribution, but there are also business to business channels as well. A lot of times a business to business producer will sell to a specialty wholesaler. Sometimes they'll go through distributors. Sometimes they go through their own authorized dealers. That's true for companies like Caterpillar and John Deere that have earth moving equipment and a lot of tractors and that type of thing going into those types of products. Of course, auto dealers, same kind of concept there. Some producers go directly to the end customer. In the textbook, there was a picture of an earlier example of direct distribution. This was in an earlier edition of the textbook, Salami.com. Back when the internet was in its infancy, there were a lot of just incredibly crude types of websites like this. I was just curious, if they'd updated their website. I assume they had, so I went to their website, and sure enough, Salami.com looking, a lot more professional now. Well, now, speaking of distributing things like meats via the internet, I'm sure that Eastern Meat Farms doesn't really sell a whole bunch of things through the internet, but one direct producer who does in a huge way is Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks has very, very high-end steaks and other meat products, and they drop ship those directly to their customers with dry ice in specialty containers. And the ability to very, very quickly and easily order, has really been a boon to their business. Of course, Amazon.com is the ultimate in, getting things via the internet. They are in virtually every product category. They're into obviously things like books, music, clothing, and of course entertainment and other direct digital content. But let's go ahead and talk about the more the logistics side of things. The logistics includes functions like purchasing, manufacturing, storage, and transporting. And it's good to look at a company that's really, really good at logistics, and you know that company, and that company is Walmart. Walmart is excellent at distribution. I said one of the benefits earlier of good supply chain management is that it can lower costs. What cost does it lower? Well, it can lower inventory carrying costs, transportation, warehousing, even packaging costs, and it can improve customer service through better knowledge management. Well, this integration, as it's often called, supply chain integration, occurs when multiple functional areas coordinate these business processes to seamlessly link to one another. And Walmart has been at the forefront of this for a long, long time. Way, way, way back in 1984, long before companies were hooked to the internet, Walmart required all suppliers to have a dedicated 24-hour EDI link with the Walmart computer system. Now, EDI is the acronym for Electronic Data Interchange. Before there was the internet, all Walmart suppliers were connected directly to Walmart via what would commonly be called an extranet. But Walmart realized the importance of having, instantaneous information about what was going on with their suppliers. Walmart has always been at the forefront of supplier relationship management, which is another aspect of dealing with your distribution partners. Walmart is the largest retailer, the largest provider of products to retailers like Walmart is Procter & Gamble. So no big surprise here. Procter & Gamble and Walmart have a very, very strong relationship. They have done a great job of working well together to their mutual benefit, creating a so-called win-win situation.